I always try to be honest and direct with you guys. Like, do you remember back when, like, the pros were all catching them on jerk baits, right? And they're like, bro, I'm catching them on XYZ jerk bait. And they're literally blatantly lying to you and catching them on a Vision 110, like a mega bass, when mega bass was like the juice, dude. Yeah, you remember that. So if you want to be lied to by some guy in a tournament jersey, you are literally watching the wrong video. Turn this off and move on. Hashtag no pro shit. But I'm going to tell you what catches fish and pet my dog. What's up, dog? What's up, doggy dogs? My dog's cool. Yeah, he's cool, dog. So now that you know what you're getting into, hit that like and subscribe button. I've been sitting on something, boys, and it's good. Get the juice out. Right there. That's the juice. I don't know about you, but I hate scents. And you guys are going to tag me in this, but literally I get to the boat ramp, you know, and I'm talking to some dude. I'm like, yeah, I only caught 15 pounds today. It was tough, but I grounded out. And he's like, bruh, caught like 26 pounds. And it's all because I put scent on my bait. And I'm like, bullshit. I don't say that to him directly because that would be rude, but bullshit. I don't think they actually reach the fish. The times that I've actually used scents are more so, like, let me show you this real quick. See all this grass out here? There's a big old flat of like milfoil in that. I'll actually put it to him like using like a horny toad or like a buzzing cane frog or something like that. I'll actually put it on that frog so it skates across that grass in like, so there's less friction. It's almost like oil, because a lot of them are oil based, right? They're greasy, they stink, and half the time the bottle gets all over the place and then it gets on my fingers, and I don't like that. So when bait fuel came out, I was like, yeah, here we go again. Yeah, another scent kind of gimmicky kind of thing. I was wrong. Very freaking wrong. Here's the difference really between this stuff. Oh, and let's rewind. So intro of the video, pros lying. Literally, dude, these guys on tour are all carrying them with this. I don't care who their plastic sponsors is. I don't care if it's power bait. They're using this stuff, and they're using it because it's different. So here's a couple components that sort of set it aside. We talked about like scents being greasy. This thing is a water-based scent, and why does that matter? So we're on water, right? Have you ever mixed oil and water? What happens? They separate, you know, they don't bond. So the fish breathe water, you know, they're in the water. So in order to actually have a scent sort of translate through the water, it has to be water-based. Now, there is a downside to it. Like, it disperses better, but dispersion also means it comes off the bait quicker. So I'm gonna show you at the end of this video a quick way and a couple tips, because you can do this wrong, of how to actually marinate your baits. I don't care what brand of plastic. It can be power bait, Gambler, Elastic, whatever you want to use, whatever your go-to plastic is. I'm going to show you how to marinate without actually wrecking the bait, because you can wreck the bait. So what does the bait fuel actually do that's different? Fish don't like taste, at least I don't think so. They're more of, you know, like if you put like a hot pepper on your arm, like habanero or something, like it actually burns your arm, right? Like you can sense it. And that's the way fish work, is they sense their environment, they're aware of like their surroundings, they're in touch with it biologically, anatomically. So bait fuel, I don't know if it's like an enzyme, we'll call it a concoction. How about that? There's something about it that triggers that feeding instinct. And I'll tell you what my experience has been. So you guys know I shoot a bunch of stuff for JT and hang out with him all the time. So JT got like an early rendition of bait fuel, like super early. And I'm like, hey dude, let's do experiment. Let's do bass science. So I'm like, let's go fish some brush piles, and let's see if we see fish on the brush piles with the graph, if we can catch them on a regular bait. If we can't catch them on a regular bait, let's throw the bait fuel on there and then throw in. And I'm like, yeah, this is never gonna work. Like, seriously, I'm so jaded about scents, because back in the day we used to buy like the cross scents from Walmart, and it was such crap, dude, like total crap. But in any case though, we go out, we get on some brush piles, and it sucks out there, dude. They're not biting. You can literally see the fish suspended on the brush, couple dots. I'm like, okay, let's do this thing. So he grabs his little net. He's got like a Nichols magnet or something. He'd thrown it in there a couple times, caught nothing. We literally squeezed some of the juice on there. And now this is a localized phenomenon. Obviously, you know, you squeeze some on, it's only gonna last 5, 10, maybe 15 casts, because it is water-based. Like, that's the positive and the negative. But he throws it in and he catches a 2-pounder. And I'm like, okay, you know, we're all lucky once or twice. So we threw in again, caught another one, and like after about 5 or 6 casts, it kind of calmed down. Now the trick with brush piles is you usually catch a few initially and then it's dead. So we had thrown it without the bait fuel, then with the bait fuel caught fish. So he reapplied and cast it back in and caught 2 more. I'm like, okay, whatever. We go to another brush pile, same deal. Like, fish weren't biting, dude. throws in, nothing happens with the little Ned. He throws some bait fuel on and gets bit. When I see that happening, like there's witchcraft and then there's correlational, like this is a pattern, something's happening. So I've seen this happen firsthand. I've also done it I'm out on Gunnersville right now. I've seen it on ledges. Like you get on these community schools where people have fished a bunch of baits, from worms to crankbaits to jigs to swim baits to spoons, all that jazz. And you get on there with a Texas rig worm and they're like, ha 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 ha, seen that, been there, you know, we're not doing it. I've added the bait fuel and I've gotten bit. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know if it's sort of triggering them, #trigger, but something's happening where there's a correlation between me adding bait fuel and me getting bit. So let me show you how to marinate a bait here. Let me get out something I'm gonna use, because honestly, I like using this, especially on finesse stuff. Like if I can't get them to bite my standards, you know, if I'm on a school of fish and it slows down, I'll throw some on my worm or my jig or something along those lines. But really for me, bait fuel is kind of like a clutch deal. So I see some fish on the graph, I'm on a school, or I see a grass line, or I got like holes in the grass where I know there's fish and I can't get bit, so I'm downsizing, I'm going to something a little more finesse. So I have, yeah, this is perfect. So I got my new Gambler Power Neds, so a little tiny finesse bait or whatever, so they're in the bag. So how do we marinate these guys? I like the fact that we're calling it marinate. So you want your stuff in a Ziploc bag like this, so it needs to close. Now here's the trick. Once again, bait fuel being water-based is a bonus and a crappy part. What you want to make sure you don't do, since this has water in it, it's water based, it will do the same thing that leaving your plastic baits in water, or your boat getting wet, or your container is getting a bunch of water in them and they get in your bags. It'll do the same thing to worm that does, and that's blow it up. It's sort of the plastic absorbs that and it makes it flex out and fluff out. You know, like those fat worms you see on the boat ramp that have floated up or something like that. That's what's going to happen. So moderation is the key, right? So you don't want to use too much of this stuff. So what I'm gonna do though, I hate applying this to each individual bait. It's annoying. The stuff isn't messy. Let me show you real quick. So squeeze out. It's not like sticky, gooey, oily, and it doesn't smell. Like I don't think I'd want to eat it or anything like that, but it is what it is. But basically what you want to do though is just a little squeeze. So that's probably more than enough. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna Ziploc close my bag, leave a little bit of corner air hole. That's actually one trick. And then I'm gonna kind of just give it one of those. It's almost like marinating chicken, dude. It's a terrible like analogy, but it's just like marinating chicken or any kind of meat. You're gonna put it in your Ziploc. You can see it's getting all gooey. Now the best way to do this is to do it 24 hours, like overnight. You know, nothing's gonna happen if you dip them in there and you just squeeze it in. You gotta let the plastic absorb, because it's gonna absorb some of that water in the bait fuel, and then it's gonna absorb those whatever the enzyme crazy concoction is into the bait. You guys know me, I do not like gimmicks and I do not like pro bull. And this stuff, it works. It took me a lot to sort of transition over and believe it. I had to see it in multiple different situations, but it doesn't stink. It's not greasy and oily. It does disperse in the water pretty quickly, so you do need to reapply or do that marinade process that I recommended. But I 100% guarantee you that the guys on tour are using this, because I know you guys are using this, but you're not talking about it. So give it a try. It's bait fuel. I'll put a link to it down in the description box. Give it a try. Make sure you're not using too much when you marinate your baits, but I guarantee you, if you know fish are there and you're not getting bit on your standard worm, just throwing it out there, throw some of this stuff on there and you will be blown away. My mind was blown, dude. Thank you, JT. That was kind of a cool experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys got any questions, drop them down in the comments box. We will see you back out on the water, and hopefully I get to go fishing today. So tight lines.